So when you first start studying Mesoamerican writing systems, it can feel a little frustrating because it doesn't seemingly make any sense. There's a lot of mysteriousness to it. But we can start to break this down in a way that makes sense. So imagine you're this alien species and you're observing humanity. And for whatever reason, you see this logo seemingly all over the world, and it tends to represent this pepper, this vegetable that these humans eat. So these smart aliens would say, okay, this means peppers that humans like to eat. You would correct them and you would say, no, actually this stands for Chipotle Mexican Grill, which is a restaurant. It's this location that you go to order food of various types. Actually, what that pepper means for most humans is burrito. So when you're first looking at these logograms here, you get confused because you think they represent images, but Mayan glyphs in particular aren't that simple. It represents syllables, or represents letters, or represents sounds, right? So if we grab an image like this and we translate it to modernity, it would look something more relatable, like what is this man in a red suit? What is kapow? And all these like bubbles with all these strange curves. So then when we look at a word like sky or chan, right, we see this logo. It doesn't really look like a sky, so it's like, how does this represent the sky? So what you need to do is look at the underlying systems. When it comes to representing celestial bodies, the moon, the sky, the sun, you tend to have these bands, right, the day of the month and all this kind of stuff. And these bands are what tends to represent things in the sky, celestial bodies. So then you can start to piece this together. Of all these logograms here, which of them are representing days of the month, the sky in some manner? Now, if you selected this logogram here and this logogram here, you would be correct. Now, we're going to get into this in another lesson, but these dots here represent numbers. Again, you see this bar and these dots here, those represent numbers. So we're looking at quantifiable amounts, and then this image starts to make a little more sense. It's representing numbers in some way, days of the month or objects of that nature. So that's pretty cool. Again, you can't just brute force language. I mean, you don't look at Japanese text or Chinese text and just immediately try to make sense out of it. You have to understand the underlying systems or the history of the language. Anyway, the key thing here is you can't just look at these images and translate images or representation of images to words. Writing systems, no matter where you're from or what point in history, are always going to be complex in nature. Anyway, Happy New Year.